road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again. Off we go.
Off we go
to a
destination.
Yeah. What level would the mobs be in this area, Ginge?
Hopefully not too high.
Level 54. Yeah, I think. Yep, Vietnam, country I've never been to. I'm wearing my dad tee. I'm set. Yeah. This is absolutely crazy. We just dropped in Vietnam in the taxi, and we are crawling. First impressions. She's been to New York, and this is soft, apparently.
It's not. New York's not bad. No.
Yeah. She said, I'm never complaining about it again. I mean, to take a peek, like every lights, you get like a. Look at this cheese. Literally, there's like no sidewalk, and any bit of sidewalk there is, they're either driving on it or they've also filled it up with mopeds. I am really pleased though that I did see my first straw hat. That was the extent of my image of Vietnam. Yeah. I do like it though. I do like the craziness. Yeah, it's got to a new country and get a little titillation. And do you even care? You just arrived in a new country. Got a new one on the list.
Don't take a nap. That's what I care about.
Oh my god. I'm getting burned by exhaust pipes. This place is there's so much happening, so much going on. Very different vibes to Malaysia, right? Malaysia, very whitewashed country, nowhere near as distinctive as this place. The smells are something, the sights are something else. Wow, it's dope, dude.
Must we get run over every time? That's good.
Oh my gosh, what a magical place. Let's go, Gingy. We made it to Vietnam. I've got a hole in my gooch. Hope my testes don't come out. We'll have to slap an ESRB rating on this video. No way, we survived that traffic.
We did.
We're now chilling in probably one of the nicest apartments, actually.
This has been great, yeah. We into this last night after the travelling we had.
It's nowhere near as nice as, because we had a really cool balcony. We've already recorded this video as well as like a couple of Crisis Core vids twice.
Yeah.
And for some reason we keep hating like weird tech issues, so we're going to be with this.
We're going back to basics with one camera, one mic.
Yeah.
That's it.
But yeah, we recorded this before over this beautiful balcony. Let's cut to that.
Dick Trickle says, this is already shaping up to be the best Final Fantasy since 12. Just hope they don't cave to you-know-who.
Voldemort.
It was a nice view. It was a nice view. There's a little lake that was down in Malaysia. There was this beautiful little poo-soaked river.
Sewage being pumped into it from the apartments.
So other than that, it was a really nice spot. But yeah, we've got the Game Awards tomorrow. And I am pumped for this one, man. I was pumped pre-Game Awards announcing that Yoshida was coming on with a special FF16 live presentation. But they didn't specifically say FF16, but they said director of Final Fantasy 16. So
yeah, because
the implication is
people were thinking it'd be 14 stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
But
nah, it's going to be 16. And what do you think it's going to be, man? What do you guys think it's going to be?
So I've seen, obviously, the release date's going to be in June. Rumours have been going around on Twitter that it'll be June. So in timescale, like surely a demo and some gameplay.
That's what I'm 76.4357% sure is coming.
Yeah.
We're going to be getting a demo. I don't know, 6 months prior to its release. I was thinking, is that kind of early for a demo? I know with Final Fantasy 15, episode Dust Sky, I mean, we got that bad way in advance of 15.
There were a couple of demos, weren't there, for 15?
Well, there was like a couple, and there was like a couple of renditions of the combat system in it. Some of which I actually preferred. I don't know if you guys played the Dust Sky demo, but there was little features like I don't know if you guys liked it, but like an area of effect would appear in a certain area, and if you moved Noctis to it, you did certain team attacks.
I never saw any of that.
But yeah, I mean, the purpose of that demo, very different to if Yoshida is going to bring one out. He has hinted at it, so it just feels right that that's what's coming at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
A deeper dive into the combat system, the mechanics of the game, and then hopefully led up with the demo for January, which, yeah, I feel like that's still really, really early. But 15's demo really was, and you could vibe it, you could sense it. It's why King's Tale came out. All the other mediums, they were there just to fill the gap. Fill the gap. The game ain't ready, ain't even close to ready. We know what problems are going on behind. We need to keep shoveling the hype train, keep remembering and reminding people this is a thing. And that very much came across in episode Dust Sky, where it did feel, because I've seen some people when a game is 3 months, 4 months prior to release, and they bring out demos and they say, it's because the developers are looking for feedback. And if there's anything that needs tweaking or changing, this is their time to do it.
Yeah.
Typically, I'm of the mind, nah, man, it's too late at that point. It's too late. The game is going gold. They're just in the final stages of debugging, tweaking, making sure everything operates and runs smoothly. At that stage, you can't be making grandiose changes.
No.
Mechanical, like...
Maybe some small ones, obviously, for like quality of life sort of stuff.
Yeah, things like the UI, which 16 was very much getting roasted on and did stand out to me as pretty jarring. But yeah, all of this is kind of backed up even more that we are this close and that everything is going smoothly. And the relief I feel, my friends, that we've just had a Final Fantasy that's been revealed. We've had not too many trailers, but just the right number inserted at good time spots. That everything is just coming together succinctly, not having a huge amount of weight. And I know that's such like a low bar of relief, but being a Final Fantasy fan, man.
Would you say this was the most confident you've been for a while in a Final Fantasy release?
Absolutely. And to be on that podcast with Night Sky and Schrodinger's, and especially Schrodinger's sort of emanating what was my feeling, he's saying it a lot more unashamedly. He's like, I am so confident that this game is going to be the one, the main line that brings the series back, that all of that, those narrative uncertainties with the series, its future, where it's going, things that Yoshida himself has emanated and expressed, that this game is going to be the turnaround. This is going to be the big, what the fans needed, released it in the way that we needed it. Because, we have just been clowned as fans like so many times. And it's all just like super exciting, especially because when ESRB ratings come out, that's also kind of when it's going through the stages of finish.
They must, whoever's obviously given the ESRB rating has probably seen some form of the game in its completed state. Yeah. Because you can't obviously you can't see all of it, but there must be a huge chunk of those scenes to be able to give the rating. There's quite a few, isn't there, on the rating, listed. So,
there's a lot on this. So this is just Brazil. You guys have probably seen it, but we are gonna break this down. And I, for the longest time, said I want a mature Final Fantasy. I've been repping for it. I've been clowning for it ever since. I did that Versus 13 vid. That was the last one we did. Now, between Versus and Type 0, Final Fantasy was moving in this mature direction. I was like, go off the deep end. Just go. We're getting old. Fans are getting old. To even, like, as I was emanating and saying that, to then have the directors actually come out and say, yo, you fans are getting old. We're old motherfuckers. However old you guys are feeling, we're feeling it as well. And it's time for the series to go in that direction. These are comments that Yoshida's kind of been talking about for quite a while at this point. Yoshida was saying Final Fantasy 16 has a very distinct story to tell, to be meaningful, to have some punch to it, and that ultimately a T rating would hold it back. So Yoshida said, when trying to tell a story with difficult adult themes, these ratings can end up being somewhat of a hindrance. And you find yourself changing things that you wanted to do in the game based on that rating. That was very much the vibe we got with 7 Remake. There was a lot that had to be toned down to really squeeze it, and you could feel it. I could definitely feel it with FSM Remake. It was
Yeah.
It was pulling it back. It was holding the elements back. That OGFF7, we've always worried that what is a fully animated, upscaled, ultra realistic version of OGFF7, because that game is fringe. Very fringe, and that things would be very icky and uncomfortable, and they still did remove things. I was telling you the other day about what happens with Red 13, Naoki.
Yes.
When he first merges, do you remember where it was? I kind of want to hear it from the horse's mouth.
It was to do with, is it the really weird bestiality thing you're telling me about?
Yeah, they stick red and air to the tube, and they're like, we need to crossbreed these for like a longer lasting specimen. They removed that, but then I did feel like some was too toned down, and little things. I hate saying the blood, because there's a lot of people, they see a bit of blood and they're like, oh my god, the game's a hit success. I don't place that much emphasis on it. But I do agree with Takai's statement. He says, taking the series in a darker direction, we decided that we wouldn't tell a juvenile story. They decided early on, because one of the major considerations is when creating the age range of the series and the core audience, which are getting older. But there's also the increased capability to portray things thanks to modern technology. And with 16 being a world racked endlessly with war between nations, we inevitably had to include scenes of battle. And if a character doesn't have any blood splatter on them after slashing someone with a sword, it ends up looking unnatural. And the graphical capabilities, which creates an even stronger sense of dissonance.
I think we're in a world now as well where a lot of stuff is going more mature. Like we've obviously, I think Game of Thrones may have started it a bit more with, obviously it's been around for a while, but people are more accepting of and want more of that maturity.
Yeah, and we've ruined our kids. We've exposed our kids to the shit early days. So even like the amount of weight, we will get into the Brazilian rating in a moment, but the amount of weight, just some of the wording around it is like, I can never tell because, of course, I don't really know how sensitive Brazil are to this kind of thing. There are some countries that are ultra sensitive to anything remotely sexual or drug related. Each country has its different sensitivity.
Yeah, and I feel like Brazil as a country are a bit more sort of not lenient, but they're more open. From what I've seen, I've never been there, but
in our last video back in the other place by the balcony, what was it you said? You said Brazil were a bit more.
I did say seedy, but
seedy.
Everybody laughed. You laughed at me, and I didn't mean to say it. I didn't mean that. We can't
cancel LG. You can't say that. Brazil's seedy, aren't they?
I don't mean seedy.
No, you mean
they're more
like Rio de Janeiro. You were saying like when they got like their dancing,
the carnivals, and obviously the women dressed in sort of more scantily clad sort of clothing and
bobbers.
Yeah. More.
It's been funny watching the World Cup in Qatar. Is how you say Qatar? Qatar.
Yeah.
To see to some of the football chicks, with their knockers out, and just sort of the locals, they're like, wow, what the I see a picture of like a small kid, and it's like, this little man has had his whole world just table flipped. Some big titties. So every country's got different sensitivities. I don't know where Brazil fall on it, but we'll go through this rating. Some of this might be very overblown, because I've got to say, as someone who's been wanting a mature Final Fantasy, when I read this, even I was like, whoa. Woof. Like there was a moment of anxiety for even me, and the anxiety coming from like you mentioned Game of Thrones, which is a reference 16's getting compared to an awful lot, and a lot of things like Game of Thrones, or even the boys, where they take like gratuity and violence and very icky what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just like shock value.
Yeah, controversial sort of
shock value
things.
And they press that button for the sake of it. That's kind of the appeal. And there's a lot of Western games that do that. They touch on the grotesque just to get that reaction. GTA games like smashing the ground out with a baseball bat and like pimping out hoes and stuff, backhanded.
I'd say,
there is that Western appeal, and I wouldn't want that for Final Fantasy. And that's what I have. No doubt Yoshida isn't going to be using this for that reason. He has also himself, while talking about the age rank, saying we're not doing it just to be grotesque for grotesque's sake. They're doing it to tell the story that they want. And when it is there to push the narrative and push the stories, make it more meaningful, impactful, that's when I can really get behind it. You know? Now, at the same time, am I cool to be made to feel uncomfortable at points? Am I, okay with playing a Final Fantasy at this stage and sometimes sitting back and sort of through my teeth and feeling a bit like I need to go take a shower. Yeah, you know what? I do feel like sometimes if you try to tell a powerful story, that's what makes it powerful. It has to sometimes push your delicacies. But okay, let's dive into it. So it's going to be 16 plus for Brazil. That's the rating they've got. It's anticipated it's going to be PEGI 18 for Europe, and America just does T's and M's.
Yeah, M for mature and...
Yeah, so it's going to be M for America, which, I mean, in and of itself, this is the first mainline Final Fantasy to have this. 7 Remake was T, Crisis Core Reunion. It's trending on Twitter, and a lot of people getting review copies. We're going to do a Crisis Core video second. Final Fantasy 15. That kept in the T zone. Yeah, equivalent 7 Remake. Like once the game does come out, that's when you kind of get the full ESRB description, where it takes like story-specific elements and describes them. Of course, that's spoiler at this point. So it is all very amorphous. And the thing with these early ESRB ratings is, you don't get any sort of context as to why they're rated this way, and sometimes they do err on the side of caution. They are over cautious. Especially some countries where it's like they will just lay the mayonnaise on thick. And we'll go into some examples where that's happened in the past, but here we go. Violence with weapons, sex appeal. Asin for Benedict. Asin for Benedict. I'm just saying it for me now. I don't know how hot you guys find her. And I'm not typically that much into blondies.
More of her in the game.
No disrespect to the blondies out there, but yeah. She's so far the only thing that we've seen that's kind of... We've seen a saucy back.
We have.
Set backs are very sexy.
I disagree with that one.
Yeah. Violent acts. Now, illegal drug use. Woo! So, I mean, it's when they say illegal drug use, not just drug use. Like, what does that mean? Does it have to be legal in the world that is set? Because when I was talking about verses, like one of the rumors of the story, and that's why I immediately didn't believe it, because Japan, they are very, very, very conservative when it comes to drugs. And it is interesting what they are conservative and aren't conservative, because even things like sexual innuendos, sexual language, veiled nudity, which is also in this, even that's a bit of a back and forth. We were discussing the other day, weren't we? Like Japan, they are quite promiscuous. They are a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Perverted. How do I say that? But they do play with it. I'll just go with Ludi as well. Japan have obviously gone through their Ludi arc.
They're still going through it, aren't they?
Of course, but that's the thing. It's like so unique. It's because while they are very Ludi and free, Oni-chan, what are you doing, Oni-chan? No, the big-titted hentai anime girls. When we walked in Japan, we'd just be walking through a mall, and there would just be a store with like a window, like not even a hidden window, it's not even veiled, just with like straight up like knees spread, like figurines with their knockers out, and of course some of them look kind of it's all. There were times I was walking through Japan, I was like,
am I right in remembering that one of the travel vlogs got flagged because of that?
It did. Oh my
god! Shot. And because we were passing body pillows we weren't even intentionally filming it. We got flagged.
YouTube's algorithm somehow picked up on it in the backdrop, and
they just noted the faces of the legs spreading.
And yet, so while Japan are like that, at the same time, there are things they are conservative on in terms of the morality of sexuality. We were kind of covering that Cloud Strife VA.
Yes.
I don't know how many of you know this, but the Japanese VA for Cloud, Takiro Sakurai, he got caught cheating on his wife. And he cheated on her for over 10 years.
10 years?
Over 10 years he was cheating. And I actually kind of got the story muddled in my head. I thought he was cheating with one of the story writers on 7, and that he was going to be pulling into question whether he was going to be allowed to continue voicing Cloud. No, this was actually his own radio show, Genki Desu. His co-host, who's the woman on the other side of the cheating of this, was Eiko. And yeah, they've been going at it for like 9 or so years.
Damn.
And basically it became, when that all came out, it blew up. It got really controversial. No, for most of us, it'd be like, okay, well, that's it's like a beef between adults. No, Square Enix, the company, they all kind of got involved. They all took it really seriously.
I mean, it's about it tarnishes their name, doesn't it? If they've got somebody working for the company that's been doing that for that long, they're going to have to step in.
And that really speaks to the conservatism that still exists in Japan, or family values and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard with Japan because they're like a whole vibe unto themselves. Where they are in their sexual awakening process is entirely unique. But it was kind of crazy to hear that apparently Eiko didn't know he had a wife. I don't know how you can be on somebody's radio show for years on end, be a co-host, and not know he's got a wife.
He must have been very good at keeping that secret, or she just pretended that she...
That's the thing. I don't know if she pretended or not, and I don't know. I don't want to say any bullshit, because... Yeah, I really don't know. But apparently when she did find out, which was on the final show of the episode, she found out. And apparently afterwards, from hearing it, she went into shock that was so great that she retired entirely from the writing business and was rushed to the emergency room from the sheer shock of it all.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, Japanese are quite reserved with their they keep themselves to themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
So they're not I don't think they're the sort of person that would go in prying about somebody's personal life.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is that prying thing. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where there's kind of like this respectful veil over things, provided you keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
And that's even like with the alcoholism. Like, they are very outwardly. They are. I'm just gonna say it. I love Japan, but y'all straight alcoholics. The amount of drinking that happens out there, and it has become a cultural thing. But the second you get too drunk, or you start acting drunk and start slurring, now all of a sudden you're a social outcast. Now you're embarrassing. And if you're making some sort of scene, they just straight ignore you. We saw drunk people like crawling out the roads. We were like, do they need help? Some people were telling us like it's considered rude because it's one of those things. It's like out of sight, out of mind, and that trickles down into everything. The work culture. It's like you got to hustle. You're looked in like a favourable way. But the second you start having workplace like depression or having anxiety attacks, or the pressure gets too much, now it's like, don't look at it.
Yeah.
Don't look at it.
It's under the rug.
Yeah.
It's...
And that came across even very strong to us in our small time. We were there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so bodily injury, foul language,
Yeah, that's the worst one of the lot.
sexual language, vernuti, presence of blood, victim suffering, eroticism, stigma prejudice. And I'll cycle back on that one because that really jumped out to me. Intentional killing, nudity, prostitution.
That's one that stuck out
Quite
a bit.
I'm just going to cover the sexual one. So there's prostitution, sexual intercourse, rape/sexual harassment. I think there was even sexual coercion in there. That's next level, man.
Yeah.
That's next level. Like no longer is that just consenting. That's uncomfortable stuff. And I started thinking, obviously we've not seen a lot of 16. What that could be coming from. I don't know, like when I saw Benedicta and Barnabas's relationship, I got the sense, I mean, obviously I'm just completely assuming and projecting, but I got a vibe it wasn't like a loving relationship. It was one where they were using each other.
There's a means to an end.
There were means to an end. There's a grander thing going on, but I got a sense that it'd be a two-way thing. She's using him, he's using her. But could it be that? I mean, it probably, what that comes down to is more like, and I don't know if they're going to go there. Like Jill, obviously being sent as a ward. This is a medieval setting, man. They did some draconian ass shit.
Yeah.
If you wanted to sign a peace treaty or a deal between two nations, you've got a 12, 13-year-old daughter or son, yeah, you sell them off. Yeah, you sell them off to some 40, 50-year-old baron. Icky! Very icky. I don't know if Jill's... obviously... We have heard that when she goes to the Rossfields family, Clive's, that she's treated as a sister, that she's treated like family.
Yeah.
But what happens when she goes and gets sent over to the Dalmex? No, Iron Kingdom.
The Iron Kingdom.
Yeah, Iron Kingdom have
You
her.
hear a lot with those.
And we've theorised a lot on why the Iron Kingdom doesn't just kill it outright. Which is typically what they have done with dominance. I think a lot to do with the fact that Ifrit emerges from Drake's Breath, the Iron Kingdom. I reckon they've been suppressing Ifrit, and that's why they ain't gonna get rid of a Shiva. In fact, that's why they've gone for a Shiva, because a Shiva is the best counterpart to an Ifrit.
Oh yeah.
I'm going down the story time. So yeah, I don't know if anything like that happens to Jill, or we have other like individuals or wards who get sold off or used.
Yeah, because we know there's other people being taken around with the Iron Kingdom lot, isn't there?
Yeah, there's some females.
They threaten Jill with harm of the other.
Yeah, prime or we kill the girl.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're talking about a girl or if they're talking about a woman. I don't know. Like, could there be some icky stuff like Jill watching some of these other women kind of getting... And that's the thing. I could say women. This was the other thing that really jumped out to me is how much of these things do go in one gender direction. And we'll cover it when we come to the 15 ESRB rating, because they'll mention that there's people getting stabbed and impaled off screen, but then they specifically say there's a scene of a woman being stabbed. And now, of course, you could say, well, we know that's Luna.
Yes.
I think it's the manner in which it's done, because it's a character that we're emotionally connected with, and it's, she's set up. So it's not just like an NPC, it's done with a different emotional weight to it, and therefore could be more shocking to witness. But it was interesting that they just sort of mentioned a woman. And my vibe is, like, let's say if Benedicta is the one using Barnabas and is manipulating him, because sexual coercion, harassment, prostitution, there's a manipulative overtone to that. Would it work the same way if it was in the female to male ratio? Not that I want to make this a gender discussion.
No,
it is just something that
I do find that they generally
I think about.
It is generally more shocking for people when they see a woman get stabbed.
Yeah.
Especially somebody like Luna, like when she's a lot more sort of frail in that respect in terms of her design and things like that. So people generally, if you see somebody getting stabbed, whereas you see guys like in like war films getting stabbed all the time and shooting each other and battered. So it's kind of not.
There is a gender norm ascribed to how we perceive media and violence within it as well. So as much as we kind of trivialize some things that females undergo, there's also a lot of things that males are trivialized under. That whole thing with like Terry Crews coming out saying that he was a victim of sexual harassment, and how it isn't taken that seriously. We still do live under those dichotomies, those prejudices. But I did wonder actually if it's also like a power thing, like a power imbalance, because we have this a lot with YouTube. Like if a really, really big YouTuber or a celebrity gets with like a fan, and they're the one with all the fame and the renown and the money, that there is a power imbalance. And even if it is perceived as consensual, that there is that dynamic in it, and that kind of does by design make it manipulative in a regard, which is difficult, because of course if you are massive, huge on YouTube, like hi it's tough. It's tough to recognize that when there is a power imbalance, that those things can come along with it. And I just don't know if that applies to Barnabas. Barnabas probably, clearly I think being way, way more powerful. I'm saying that from the context that he's taken all of Wallode, an entire nation, including Benedicta's, single-handedly. He's just stepped in, and it's very much like talks of him sending her. I think we even see a little trailer where he sort of sends her out of the room. It says in the law that when they find out there's a second Icon of Fire, Barnabas sends Benedicta. So it does sound like she's under his ideology. And if he is intrinsically more powerful, that could be where that comes from, as well as a million and one other places this could be stemming from.
I mean, she is one of the... what was her role again in the game? I can't remember what was her...
Garuda.
Not Garuda, I mean, what organisation was she part of? It was like an infiltrate, was it? Like intelligence?
Yeah, intelligencer.
So even that she could be making out that she's been under his rule, but like she could be playing the game herself.
She could be. Could be. And even that, as an intelligencer, could she go and try to use her wily sexual charms, to try to get information?
Yeah.
Does that count as prostitution? It could teeter on that.
Could.
And then we just don't know where we're going to go in these nations. All of them have different ideologies and different cultures, and that's something that I'm really excited to see how rich that is. You could have, even in something like Lightning Returns, like Snow City. What's it called? I can't remember. But you go there and they're very free and they're very loose. That wasn't M-rated, but you can imagine like everyone's just kind of like fucking each other. Everyone's fucking each other. And I can imagine like down in Dalmec, like Hugo's lot, they're just like fucking. It's a lot fucking. Whereas like the Iron Kingdom, you can imagine they're going to be very, very conservative. It's a place ruled with fear and tyranny and religious doctrine. Of something that I very much get the sense that the wife of Joshua, mother of Joshua, wife of the Archduke, she could have come from there. But yeah, even just talking about that configuration of nations and how intricate that's going to be, what motivates some, how they treat their dominance, what brings them into the war, these motives, which is very, very complex. And Yoshi did say very quickly, setting up all of the proper motivations and details of a politically staged game, very tricky to do, while not stagnating the pacing of the story.
Yes.
Which is why I'm kind of excited to see that to 100% the game, Yoshi confirmed it's going to be a 35 to 40 hour mainline with a 75-hour completionist. Standard.
That's a good length.
Pretty standard. But what immediately jumped out to me, and we were chatting with Brie about it, when I go back to 15, which is very soon, I have no intention of doing the side content. I don't.
No.
I don't. You didn't use it. You didn't utilize it. You didn't set the NPCs up. When we went around, there were people chatting about like food stalls and other trivial stuff. Whatever you do with that extra 35 hours of side content, make it count.
Yeah.
That's where you need to slide in details about the nations, the histories, what's happened before. You know, go to an NPC who tells you about their son or whatnot who died in that war. And you know, for those of us who then do want to really piece together the political puzzle and landscape of this thing, we can. You just got to make it count.
Yeah. I never did any of the side quests in 15 at all.
Yeah.
On my first playthrough of it, it just didn't feel, like you said,
It was a waste.
I did start some of the side quests in it, but then thought, this feels like an MMO side quest.
It really does.
So,
yeah.
I just pushed on with the story and
And with all of those different nations, the main other bulk of this ESRB rating. So all of the descriptions of violence, but it's the stigma, prejudice, intentional killing, hate crimes, suicide, torture, gratuitous violence, trivialization of violence. There's some interesting ones in there. Hate crimes and stigma, prejudice particularly. Well, actually, I mean, very quickly, suicide and torture. So we actually have had, and this is one thing where I'm going to call out a few of the comments that I've seen, because I don't know how you guys feel when you read this. Are you like, I'm really on board for this? Of course I want it to be used in a certain way. I don't want it to be just pressing the button for button's sake. Or are you of, because I really trust Yoshi, that's the main thing. That's why I don't have concerns. I trust Yoshi. I know his work. There's a lot of fans who don't have that same trust. And maybe because they don't know Yoshi, do you know what I mean? So I get it.
there is that.
But I have seen some comments where it's like, oh yeah, because when I play Final Fantasy, I don't think of medieval dungeons, dragons and castles. I think of an angsty, like dark-fueled angst quest, basically.
Right.
And then followed up by, this is why there's been no interest in the series since 6.
I've seen that one and I just didn't get
Hey!
since 6.
You've been in a coma, mofo. No interest in 6. Are you serious? Like, 7 came straight after that. 7 still stands to me as one of the most on the nose. Very on the nose. Especially Don Corneo. I did it in the freak moments. Don Corneo straight up ties up Eleanor, a Turk, and Yuffie, who is underage at that point, and it's not just like he's considering his wife and then it cuts there, it's he's considering and he picks the young chirpy one. She's like, ooh, gross. Yes, very gross. Very gross. So they've been there, but you know, to say that happened at just 7, though 7 was very much like that, it was happening in 6. Celeste commits suicide. Her character, and she jumps off a cliff.
Oh wow.
It doesn't actually kill her. She survives it.
The intent was there.
The intent was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, suicide could be the intent of it. There's even a big one in Persona 5. Suicide, I've got to say, is one that makes me feel real.
Oh, of course.
Real heavy.
Yeah.
Real heavy. Even that, like, just quickly talk about Persona 5. The rape, sexual harassment thing. That was that, but I was saying to you about Kamoshida, PE teacher, with one of our main MCs, Anne, and her friend, and it's actually him. There's like an implication that he's done something to the other, and then she jumps off. Ugh,
Christ.
ugh. But it was powerful in the story.
Yeah.
Even if especially with Persona, that's what's curious about it, because it's very stylized. It's very JRPG. It still has a lot of zaniness and wackiness to it and playfulness in its narrative. And yet it's still played in things like that.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel entirely jarring. Now to think that we're having 16, which is very much set in this world and in this setting, it makes a lot of sense that they're going to use this kind of thing. And yet at the same time to see the difficulties in using it. Because, say, with the stigma, the prejudice, the hate crimes, this is very interesting coming off the back of that. The whole diversity conversation, which we won't go too much into again, but that makes sense to me now, why Yoshi was saying what he was saying. Don't you think?
I think so, yeah. I think it would have made it a lot more difficult to write if they were because obviously with the diversity of just white characters in the game.
Yeah.
If you'd added sort of like black or Asian characters in there as well and had certain nations being
It would have been an
inflammatory
incendiary bomb.
Yeah, even more of a...
For sure. That's the thing. If you've got like whites doing hate crimes and stigma and prejudice on each other, it's like, okay, a bunch of white people bugging out in a game. It plays a certain way. If you've got one white nation, like say if Sambrique is white as hell, and they did make Dalmex very much Middle Eastern, as I think they should have looked. And I think they could have looked. And I do agree with people that in this game, there did seem like there was an opportunity for diversity. And yes, you could say, oh, okay, Yoshi's explanation of, no, we've taken a concept, extracted a concept of a white Europe, not to say it was white and that we're blind to what the history of it was. Just, we're taking a stylization, a perception of white Europe, and we're keeping it to that, because what we want to do with this game, he was very much implying that he didn't want it to be controversial. He was saying, if we do use Asian, there's going to be a preconceived notion of what that character's about, what's going to happen to them, what the outcomes are. And I don't know, like, if you did have the Dalmex all Middle Eastern, and then you had the white superpower, like, coming off the back of Iraq and Afghanistan, do you know what I mean? You've got like a white superpower kind of absolute railroading a Middle Eastern country. Do you mean it sings to things that are happening in the real world? And that's why I feel it's such a shame that people are so hot on this, in how it's used, how it's portrayed, if a character is misrepresented. I think that these are the fans that do a disservice, who truly do want these things to be included, because when you come in and you just railroad all over Barrett, you know, we use a black character, and now you're railroading on him, even though they did a fantastic job. What you do is you make them less and less incentivized, or should I say confident, in doing it again.
Yeah.
You know, and I can definitely see that this would be really hot. This would be really hot, and I think it could be and it should be, because of course the ultimate takeaway, or one of the big themes or commentaries that 16 to me is clearly making, it is on nuclear warfare. It is on like mutually agreed destruction. That's what the explosions you see. I mean, it's like a mushroom cloud.
Power of some of the summons in the trailers, it's incredible. What destruction we're going to get if certain cities are going to get destroyed completely. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with Rosaria, like after the sort of first part of the game there.
Hell yeah.
So,
and I feel like when Yoshi said we don't want to make it about outward motivations, about like the characters outwards, their outward appearances, and have that be what makes the commentary on why these events are happening. Like, what I get the vibe is that there's other stigma and prejudices, that they're ideological ones, rather than this country is going and wrecking this one because they're this colour, they look this kind of way. That is not distilled or watered down, or that players can't misconstrued it as a race thing. And I really understand it when you look at that ESRB rating, and that it felt safer for them to do it, because one ethnicity doing a hate crime against another one plays in a different way, man. Plays in a much different way. It's uncomfortable as shit, and it immediately brings up a whole history of other feelings
Yeah, it is annoying that Yoshi didn't get to word it the way like with this alongside it.
Yeah.
If this is the reason they haven't.
Well, I mean, he did get dropped like by a question, an interview question. He just got sort of blindsided.
He did,
it.
yeah.
I don't know. When I say blindsided, maybe he did say he was prepared for it, and he
Yeah.
tried to give a big, eloquent answer to it. But it really just fits with where they are. That they were like, let's just have a bunch of white people fucking each other up. that's my takeaway on it. Yeah, kind of following in a very similar vein to that. The only thing equally as uncomfortable as race to race is the age thing. So age thing, very much so when it comes to any kind of sexual involvements in the story, but violence as well. And apparently that's something that the Brazilian ESRB Ministry of Justice, they were kind of judging them heavily on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the use of child or teenage characters. So violence with weapons, violent acts, presence of blood, intentional killing of the victims are aggravated by both frequency and inappropriate content with children or adolescents. Where is it? Yeah, aggravated by the frequency. The stigma and the prejudice is also aggravated due to inappropriate content with children or adolescents. So we've seen the immediate scene of Joshua having his father's blood and head just roll in front of him.
Yeah.
The fact they're saying the frequency, I guess we're going to see it again. I think we're going to have to, if they are going to, as Yoshi said, he said, when asked about gender, oh, is the female character just here to prop up Clive? He was like, no. Like, Jill has a story. I really like the idea that Jill is actually kind of the, I was going to say pseudo-hero. I don't think that makes pseudo-hero. But basically kind of like thematically the actual hero behind the story. And Clive is more of a conflicted, grey area morality, and that's kind of, it's going to be Jill who's the real hero behind it. And that's very classic Final Fantasy. They've done that in 12. I feel like 6 did it, although 6, you could say Locke was the MC. Tidus, but Yuna's the real hero, isn't she?
Yeah, I'd say so, definitely.
Like, it's very common to have the male MC, but then a female behind who is actually very prominent in the story. She is the one who makes a lot of the breakthroughs and headways in terms of the moral outcome of the story and holding up goodness.
Yeah, she did that a lot. Obviously, Tidus was quite a conflicted character, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In the game, and I did feel
You
myself
can
connected
kind of even
to
say
Yuna.
Luna very quickly, sorry. You can even kind of say Luna was there, though she had such a brief and they didn't use her at all in any decent way.
Underused.
Noctis was the one kind of bumbling through his fate, the story, the happenings, a lot of rage, expressing a lot of darker stuff, whereas Luna was there who had them more fixed.
Yeah.
And set up. No, that's what I don't like. I don't like when they imply it's the lean on, props up. I guess it is a prop up, but I do feel it's more empowering, especially the way Final Fantasy has used it with these female characters. But sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was just saying that obviously Yuna was a lot more, I would say level-headed, but she seemed a lot more mature at the start of the game. Whereas Tidus came into it and he was a bit of a
bumbling not
all over the place.
Exactly. He really was. There's a little brie.
Have 20 minutes until practices.
20 minutes
no.
to breakfast.
Do you guys just want to press the order button and we can get back to it? It'll take a while.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. Oh, yum 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 yum
Yum, yum, yum,
yum
yum,
yum
yum.
yum yum.
Oh, we can't say that, it means horny in Vietnamese.
Oh yeah, it does, doesn't it?
We have to say yummy, yummy, yummy.
Yeah. Apparently, yum means horny out here. We just ordered some food. Nice. Can't wait to go out and explore around Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah.
Crazy though.
Got some.
I'll put. They would have seen it at the start of the video. I'll put that traffic
Yeah.
in there. But yeah, rounding this video out. So I mean, how does that all make you feel? We just chatted with Bree about it for a sec. We spoke last time. Now she's a long-running Final Fantasy fan, and her feel is the same. It's like, yeah, it's fine. It's time for the series to come into this kind of mode. And every Final Fantasy's been different. It's crazy to me how people still cling to the past. This is something that has just happened perpetually throughout Final Fantasy's history. Like, to still see even people now talk about how pre-7 is their concept of the series, when it's this more quippy, light-hearted medieval venture.
Yeah.
Ventures that wouldn't be so quippy and light if they weren't text-based descale games. I mean, I was saying about how even the Figaro brothers, you've got Kyan and Edgar, he's the real problematic one. He'd be hitting on an underage, like Realm Arani, and he knows she's underage, and he just doubled down on that.
Goes on it.
Uncle Alti likes them young and fresh. And you upscale that is all very uncomfortable. So it's not like Final Fantasy hasn't been a series that does touch on the mature. It's just now where tech has brought it. So to me, it doesn't feel something unnatural and strange. It does feel like a natural evolution, and that's why I did that. It was one of my big blow up videos 4 years ago, and I put out Final Fantasy M-rated ? And a lot of people, I got a lot of mixed feedback on that. Some were like, yeah, I'm with you. I was like, nah, the series won't. The series really will not. And I believed them for the longest of time, especially when 7 Remake came out. And it's crazy how this is such a new thing right now. Even between episode Yuffie and 7 Remake. 7 Remake, you didn't have blood. Anything that they did have was just like bits of goo.
Yeah.
And everything was kind of off-screened. And then you had like any impaling, and then you had episode Yuffie. They showed that. They splattered her face with blood. Like the Nexus point, I feel like we've just crossed it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you've kind of just reminded, I don't know if you remember the Monster Hunter games.
Yeah.
The Japanese version of the Monster Hunter games compared to the Western versions. The Japanese ones had blood splattering all over the place in the games. And that's one thing that for some reason the West never got, was blood.
Really? What, the West didn't get?
The West didn't have blood.
Blood splatter.
They had like very small amounts.
See, that's like another one of those things where it's like, because Monster Hunter's always been insecure about how it can perform in the West.
Yeah.
It's like we need to drag down the age rating to get a broader. Because it is also very true that teenagers, they just do play games more. They are a larger demographic of gamers.
Yeah.
That's not to say that they ain't still going to get their hands on it. There's more than enough parents who are willing to let them play it. I mean, I remember being 7 years old, being allowed to play and watch the first Resident Evil. When that zombie turned, it shat me up, man.
Yeah.
I had to sleep with the lights on for a week. I don't know how your parents were with it.
With so I never really played anything like Resident Evil, but with GTA, it took a very long time to get my parents to let me play that. And even when we did get the game, my brother got on because he's much younger than me. My mum saw him beating a woman to death with a baseball bat, and GTA went back in the cupboard. We weren't allowed to play.
Really, they took it away.
They took it away.
I don't know how you guys were when you were kids. Let me know in the conversation below. Or even a lot of you as parents now. Where do you stand on exposing your kids to these kind of games? What does cross the line? Do you allow your kids, if it's supervised or not supervised, like how high do you allow them to go on the age rating? I don't know. Typically what dictates and what has your guys' personal experience been of it. But yeah, rounding this vid out because I'm a waffly motherfucker who can't produce any content less than half an hour long. I just can't. I don't even know if I want to. One thing we did miss off was the drug use. Yeah, so we kind of skipped over that. So illegal drug use. Yeah, does it have to be illegal in the setting? Because it was really curious that FF7 Remake's ESRB, the early one, before it gets like fleshed out a lot more with spoilers, that said drug use. And I remember like, what? Drug use? And I was going back to when I was like, okay, so they just talk about like some wall market stuff. Is Don Corneo going to roofie some of his girls or something? Where would be the drug use? Now, looking at what did show up in 7 Remake, I don't know if it's the source.
The source?
The source, yeah. There was this quest, you go to this hippie guy at wall market and he goes, can you go get the source? And then you go around like, and there's rumours of the source. The source. The source. And they keep it like they just play on it. It's like the game back in school.
Yeah.
Remember the game?
I remember the game.
Yeah, do you remember the game?
Phew.
Do you know about the game?
I know about the game, and you're playing the game, aren't you?
Yeah, but you can't talk about the game.
Can't talk about it.
And only those in the game know about the game. It very much had that. But was that it? Maybe. Obviously, there was a lot of use of alcohol, which we'll see in the final 7 remake, ESRB. But yeah, like it was strange to me when they said that Noctis was going to take a drug called Luna, that when he took it, he would be able to see like dead people like his father and Stella, and he'd go into these drug-fueled hazes. I was like, yo, Japan ain't going there. They ain't going there. It was really funny, because again, country sensitivities. In that last place we was at, we walked in, and there was that signpost on the bench of our apartment, and it said, "No use drug bad, drug ruin life."
I think it used to destroy lives.
Drug destroy life.
It's quite.
Yeah, all right, mate. Drug destroy life. That sort of shit triggers me. Again, not to glorify it, because I will get taken down off YouTube. Always be sensible, always be smart, always use it with good intentions. But for me personally, man, drugs, man, they'd be unlocking consciousness. They'd be a tried and tested and verified clinically as well way of dealing with trauma, doing emotional therapy. Mary J. Warner, she deserves more respect than that, man. Annoys me with my own country as well, like UK. We barely even just got to the stage of allowing it to be used for medically valid reasons. Like hearing about parents who were getting, potentially faced with jail time because giving their child, like their teen, marijuana was the only thing that was stopping them from having like 20 epilepsy seizures a day. Come on. So even where I come from, we're still back in the dark ages.
Yeah.
Shit. And some of that really does show up in how they describe it in games. I think specifically with 16, because I was thinking, like, where could the drug use be? We did see in the book that we open and close, black line card translation. Yeah. There was what felt like some sort of use.
It was to do with was it concretion they called it?
Wait, was that the word concretion?
It was called concretion, yes, in the translation in the book.
Oh, yeah.
It was to do with the dominance when they obviously have they start going to stone because of the powers and things like that.
Yeah.
And it was going through in the book the sort of process of healing, and it was almost like a plague, sort of like Black Death sort of.
Yeah, that's the vibe we got. It was like very old plague, kind of, rather than like drawing the blood and the past use medicinals and potions and substances to heal.
Yeah.
To heal the thing. There was the blight side, and concretion, a hard, solid mass formed by the local accumulation of matter within the body.
Yes.
How they're going to heal that. So there was talk about it, and it did sound like very old age medicine. In history, we had to do medicine through time. And you had to go through like crazy plague doctor stuff, and some of the stuff that they would use, like mercury and stuff.
Yeah.
Things that would like basically give people psychosis, make them like act wild as hell. So I wonder if that's what the reference in 16. Using medicinals, or they could just be straight out. Some nations just be popping off on some crazy ways. Yeah, because that was the other thing with 7 Remake having it. If it weren't the source, what I thought it was going to be is, could it be black market maker enhancements? I thought, they're going there, because I was always, when I wrote a fanfic, I always feel so embarrassed when I say that. I wrote loads of fanfics. I played into my story that, if there are like soldiers getting jacked up on S-cell injections, I imagine if that's going like black market circulation, people trying to get jacked, and that like going like bad, and icky. And I don't know, maybe some of that icky with like trying to cure the blight is where the illegal drug use.
Yeah, I mean, if there's like a sort of substance in the game which they use to heal people up, whether people would just take that anyway and use it for recreational use. So whether we'll be seeing that.
There we go, guys. That's pretty much what some of the potentials for the stories are. Again, none of it's concrete. Some of these ratings play safer than sorry, which is very much the vibe. We'll just quickly cover 15 and 7s, because I find some of the wording in it absolutely hilarious. So we're getting all these things about nudity, ludite, sort of hints of it, talks of it. So there's going to be a bit of a bit of sauce. The actual sauce. But it's funny like how even sensitive they were to that. So very quickly with 15s, your player's controllers to save a kingdom from evil forces, third player perspective, battlefield, city environments, various squares, yada yada. Characters use swords, guns, magic attacks, exploding fireballs, blasts of ice to defeat soldiers, oversized animals in frenetic combat. Fights are highlighted by cries of pain, dramatic light effects, and realistic gunfire. A handful of cutscenes depict characters impaled on swords. I've seen one cutscene involves a woman being stabbed off screen, the Luna, which they cut away to. Another depicts a character with a blood-stained wound. During the course of the game, Some female characters are depicted topless, with breasts that lack discernible details, i.e. no nips. No nip-nips.
We were trying to think of which one.
Nip-nip. The word shit appears in the dialogue. Yeah, that was 15s.
We were trying to work out what that one was, and we came to was it she? We were thinking.
It's got to be Gentiana, right? See, I had to go back and look because I thought, when like she merges to like knock us on the train, that I thought she just had like blue skin and she just had like her wobblies, just with like no nips on. But she did have some sort of like ice bikini, but it was very much like blended into the colour of her skin. So it does give off the look that she's butt ass naked, but just the way that, i.e. no nipples, no nips. If there was nips, we'd have to push us up to M. The nips make all the difference.
They do.
And with FF7s, so again, this is like the glorification of substances, and interesting how this comes from Japan. But yeah, fantastical fights against monsters, human soldiers, combats highlighted by cries of pain, impact sounds, explosions. Cutscenes also depict instances of violence, characters impaled by swords off camera, a man shot repeatedly while on a stairwell. I love it because you can go to that exact scene. It was when you were climbing up the pillar and you're trying to stop the pillar collapse from happening. There's one like NPC like going up there and he gets absolutely railed down.
Poor bugger.
So they were like, oh, we need to specifically talk about that guy, that NPC.
It was a stairwell that did it completely.
Some female characters wear revealing outfits.
E.g. deep cleavage.
Deep cleavage, yeah. See, that's the thing. I wonder with other Final Fantasies where they've been, like Lulu, he got some of that deep.
Yeah, she would have been pulled up by it.
Deep.
You're facing that again, mate.
I'm good. One scene depicts a man ogling women's bodies while making suggestive hand gestures and hip movements.
Sounds like Master Roshi.
It is. The game contains some alcohol content, ordering something hard and bitter, and watching a character drink, searching for a person at the drunkard's den. So even just saying the drunkard's den, watching characters drunk and slurring their speech. So again, when it's actually showing up, when it's actually hitting that glorification point. This next one, very quickly, is curious because they say one cutscene depicts a character smoking a cigar. I might as well finish it. The word shit, arsehole, and prick appears. But yeah, that is curious with the like substance use, because again, Japan are tough on some sides, other sides they're pretty okay and lenient on. Like, it's really strange to us. We talked about the drinking thing. They're total no-no on drugs.
Yeah.
But say that the smoking of cigarettes, you're allowed to smoke inside, in a restaurant, in a bar. Even in like a seemingly family-friendly place, you can smoke inside an enclosed area. But where can't you smoke?
Outside, isn't it?
Yeah. You literally you can't smoke outside. Walking down the street.
Yeah. You have designated areas, don't you? That you
and you have to go and stand in it, but you're allowed to do it inside. So strange.
I think it's to do with the litter laws and that.
I think it is more a litter.
They want people throwing cigarette
Why you
butts.
can't leave the vending machine until you finish your drink.
Yeah.
You have to drink it at the vending machine. So yeah, I think that's more a litter thing. But yeah, it is curious because they did say at one point that Sid Highwind, he was going to be off the ciggies. And also like Sid, I always forget you've never played it. He's the dragoon of the story. He's like an airship pilot, like southern accent, and he's chain smoking. All day, every day. He also just happens to be like a bit of a domestic abuser. Oops. I shouldn't say it in a jokey way, but it's kind of done that way.
Very weird.
There's this chick, Shara, and he just abuses the shit out of her. But yeah, they said that Sid weren't going to be smoking. And now obviously, yeah, when we went to Walmart, some people were having cigars and cigarettes. So, I don't know, even that feels like a little bit of a backtrack.
I think it's quite a big thing in Japan, though, isn't it? Cigarettes, like it's.
Yeah, and it's just the promotion of it.
Yeah.
So that does make me wonder if they are going to cut Sid Ciggies. I think they said that they're going to put something else in there instead.
Oh, right.
Maybe he'll be vaping. Sid will
Can you imagine?
Just a serial vaping.
It's just massive vape.
Just like, shows down, Lady Luck, don't let me down now.
It covers the entire screen with smoke. Blowing O's.
So that's pretty much everything ESRB rating. We better bounce because we've got ourselves a grab coming. A game show happening in less than ETA 12 hours.
Yeah.
Something like ETA 8. We're going to have to get up really early, 7 in the morning, so hopefully we can get this out before that happens. If not, you're seeing it after. What's it like? Or anyone watching this after game show, what happened? Was it good?
Don't tell us.
Tell us, future.
Well, don't tell us. Tell us, don't
It's
tell
the
us.
future.
Oh, it is the future.
Tell us.
What?
Beings from the future. Was it good?
What did you enjoy?
Did it blow our nip-nips? Did we see something dark? That's the thing. We could see something even like from this rating. Maybe we... Because yeah, I'm kind of ready for a combat trailer, but I will never say no to a bit of story. Bit dismemberment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty easy with dismemberment at this point. I know there's a lot in God of War. It's very tame dismemberment.
Yeah, God of War's not the
It's when you start.
stuff, isn't it?
I think it's when you start getting entrails.
Yeah.
Juicy.
The actual old God of War.
The juiciness of it.
Yeah. The old ones, you actually had like characters ripping people's heads off and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the ones in the new one have been.
Yeah, and even like when you like rip a werewolf's like face
Yeah.
down, it's kind of just like a matte kind of darkish red.
Yeah,
And it's all just
yeah.
sort of very smoothed. It's not got that visceral, organy gore with it,
No.
which yeah, I feel like getting to that stage is good enough because it is right. If you don't do that in modern ultra realistic games, it does come across as a bit jarring, a bit disconnecting. But either way, I have never been more excited for mainline, and yes, I'm coming from that from the simp and the clown of FF15. I say there's no time for that. But this, honestly, I've got to say, extra, and it's because 15 was something that it was its mystery, and I was trying to figure out what it was, and I was inserting a lot of my own wants and things. Whereas 16, it is that game that I have been describing, that mature, Type 0-esque, evilly motivated, one that does take summons and summon characterizations to a human complex evolved levels. These are literally point for points things when fans have asked me, yo Pez, what kind of FF do you want? This is it, baby. You're delivering it, Yoshi. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. How do you feel about our first mainline M?
I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be good.
I'm actually getting a lot of Witcher 3 vibes from it, to be fair, like what they described at the moment. And if they can do it like that, then I think we're on through.
Yeah, man.
A good time.
In June. And that's what I'm hoping for as well. We get that release date. Yeah, let's go. Thank you so much for watching, guys.
Yes.
Comment, like, and subscribe. Let us know what you think. I'm going to go jump in the bath and
Stop showing you.
air out my sack. Oh, my sack is very...
Christ.
I need to go get it all waxed. I need a back, crack, and sack wax. I can wax your back and your sack, but not your crack. No one's gonna get that. That's a Carl Pilkington.
Yeah, look it up. Carl Pilkington learns English.
Yeah, honestly, watch it. It's so fucking funny. All right, love you guys.
Peace out.